It's how I survived 2 assassination attempts by the FBI and what people should be aware of and learn from this situation. So first and foremost, let me just make it abundantly clear that there is no daylight, there are no cutouts, there is no separation between the FBI, the fascist gangs, and the cops, okay? They've integrated for decades, all right? They are one. Don't believe the show like, oh, the FBI just arrested the head Proud Boy. Yeah, it's because he's brown. If he was white, they wouldn't touch him, okay? So make it abundantly clear that your devices are your worst enemy. Most specifically, anything Apple. Apple devices are spying on you to the point where you can't even turn it off. Airplane mode does it, nothing. These devices are being exploited by these organizations to track down, harass, target. It's the devices. Androids aren't much better, but you can turn them off, which is kind of handy because when you turn off an iPhone, it's still talking to anything Apple. And, who knows what else, right? I'm sure there are people that know. Okay, so now that I've got that out of the way, first and foremost, I've told all these videos before, there's gonna be some links down in the description, okay? I was basically a weed guy my whole life, and I was the type of person that was trying to get weed legalized. That was the goal, bring all the products that we could make from hemp and all, just full blown, right? That was always my goal. And getting her done, okay? And it's there now, but with everything else that's going on, who knows how that's all gonna hang on. Fingers crossed. So the FBI, because I had this whole bank loan thing and there was no theft, right? Nobody was trying to steal money from the bank. People were just borrowing the money from the bank, mainly to just grow weed, okay? But there was some other things. People were flipping houses and whatever. So the bank, long story short, the bank, I had a $20,000, $15,000 available loan. I had $3,500 out on it, okay? So that was the loss in that whole thing. But then the bank lied and put it to the 15,000 limit, which there was only 3,500 out when all the stuff went down. There's a video here, hopefully, about that. So then the FBI was had me arrested at one point and said, pay it off, right? And it was if it was, the 3,500 or 5,000, whatever, but they jacked it up to 15,000 for just no reason, right? Just to probably make it to where it was big enough to be something they could call the frickin' FBI on, right? So anyway, that's where it starts. And that's 95 or something like that. Okay, so I actually get busted in 99 for weed, go to federal prison for 7 years for weed, get out, wasn't even out a second when a neighbor basically attacked me for asking him to turn down his stereo at way past. And long story short, this guy shouldn't even been living there. He should have already been kicked out, right? Because he was a crazy drunk, passed out drunk, stereo up to freaking distortion, and passed out on the floor, all the time, right? Had multiple complaints, but there was 2 landlords, so his complaints didn't get communicated, so he was still there. I go over there to try to it's super late, I'm trying to sleep. It's literally on the other side of the wall. So he attacks me. And I didn't even hardly even do shit to this guy because we basically just fell into his apartment and he was just flat. I mean, it was just ridiculous, right? I mean, this little porch and he just came out, you know. Long story short, you know, I'm now just fresh out of prison and now the feds, you know, if you get a new crime on federal probation, like they'll put you back in jail for years and years. Well, for whatever reason, they didn't put me back in jail, right? I went to trial and got a freaking, so they had all these charges. One charge they put on me, the judge, assault, the lowest assault. I mean, for what? You know what I'm saying? Like for falling and just trying to get up and not be attacked. Like I get the fucking charge because he was beat up. Why? This drunk fuck falls into shit and it's my fault. The system's fucking garbage, okay? You can't even defend yourself in Oregon. If you defend yourself in Oregon, if somebody's attacking you and you defend yourself and you win the fight, you're the fucking criminal. I mean, it's nuts, okay? So now I'm freaking, you know, out on the streets, you know, I'm just working, doing whatever, right? So, you know, fast forward, some just random working at a bar, 2 biker gangs show up, have this crazy ass meeting, right? I mean, it was nuts, right? Story in the description, right? The whole thing, right? So now, the feds are following me around waiting for bikers to kill me, you know? And so, you know, that all kind of just blew over because I just basically became impossible to find by bikers. You know, the feds are freaking tracking, you know, but the bikers don't have that ability. So they got, you know, distracted with something else or whatever and never tried to kill me or anything like that. It was pretty freaking wild. So now I'm in this whole bartending scene and I'm doing all this. And I ended up freaking answering. I had a girlfriend, horrible girlfriend. Long story short, she owed me like $300 for a cell phone. She lost her phone, broke her phone. I bought her from. I was like, I'm not just giving you a damn phone. You're gonna pay me back, okay? Not paying me. I'm like, hey, what if we go do this couples adult shit, right? Adult video for couples. All right. So we go and like, it's like the creepiest thing. Long story short. And no, there is no story for this. I have yet to tell these stories because I'm not there yet. And this channel needs to be way bigger because this story is way too good. And it might be like a book or a movie or, I don't even know. But anyway, long story short, I end up getting a hold of the business and getting it turned around to where it's not creepy and it's doing cool stuff. This whole time, the FBI has been just on me. Like even all the way back to I had carpal tunnel surgery in like 2007 or something like that, right? And they were literally like in the office right there, like the FBI, right? I mean, these just all up in my shit for years. Okay. And, you know, I would see them and be suspicious. So that's pretty much what the scene had been like for years, right? They're bored, probably have all the access in the world because I was in prison. So there's some, you know, they can do whatever clause. And they do because I'm fascinating. Because I have nonstop cool stuff going on, like, for as long as I can remember, like my whole life pretty much, except when I was a kid. But so now everything's pretty much like good. And then what happens is Trump wins, okay? And through the Electoral College, it's horse patootie, okay? So I go to a protest, I got a megaphone, right? And I'm like, you know, megaphoning this and that. And actually, it was like, I don't like when people get in front of the cars. right? I mean, if you're marching and you have a whole marching full of people and you're marching down the street, yeah, screw the cars, we're marching down the street. But I don't condone marching down the freeway, right? The streets gets the point across and you're in a march. So when people want to just stop a random car, like I'm not down with that. So I'm literally like, fuck Trump and all this and get out of the street, you freaking kids. You know what I'm saying? So I go to just one or two protests, right? But then the Proud Boys are doing something right outside the federal building, right? Like that's the spot they choose. You know how many people had federal charges because of that? Like, yeah, like they weren't working together, the fascist gangs and the cops. Yeah. Okay, fascist gang, hold a protest right outside the federal building, and then we're gonna give a bunch of people that we see in the crowd or whatever federal charges, okay? I didn't even make it to the protest, okay? I was walking down the sidewalk, okay? Now, I go to a protest with big signs all through Occupy. I had a huge sign. It was a painter's pole that would extend and it would go up like 20 feet in the air. And it was a giant half a sheet of pink foam. And on one side it said campaign finance reform. And the other side said money out of politics, right? A giant sign all through Occupy, okay? All the marches and more. So I made another big ass sign that said traitor. I had a Trump mask that I had propped up because, I owned a video production company, did effects, all practical effects, special effects, all kinds of effects, right? Made props. So Trump head on a stick, looked freaking, traitor on one side, and on the other side it said, one of the amendments. I don't remember exactly one amendment. I looked up some amendment because, it was not a hoax. The Russia thing was not a hoax. Did they actually have hackers into stuff other than emails, like hacked into the vote and all that? No. But they psychologically hacked a big chunk of the United States, okay? So that was factual, and he is absolutely tied to Russia. Look what's happening to Ukraine right now, okay? So I was absolutely right, okay, but now I'm on my way to the protest. I'm not even to the protest yet. I've got my megaphone, I've got my bag that has like water and snacks and stuff, and I got my sign. And I'm walking down the sidewalk, not even there, jumped by cops. Now, typically I never bring any kind of weapon or a knife at all, which I don't consider knives weapons. It's just a tool that I carry because it's really freaking handy to have, okay? But typically I would just take them out of my pocket and leave them in my car and not take them to the protests. I forgot, so I had a knife in my pocket. Legally, they saw it clipped, took it out of my pocket, and so you can't have this, and you can't. It was legal. You have to be able to see it. They had it because they saw it. I mean, so they take me to jail, right? Illegally arrest me, right? Okay, so now a couple days go by and CNN shows up, right? Straight up cops, right? I mean, they didn't even have a camera out. They're sitting there trying to lecture me about my sign being like a weapon and stuff. I mean, the sign was like 15 or 12 or something feet. I mean, it was huge pole. And this little Asian guy is sitting there trying to show me that the weapon is like, and he's behaving like it's some like medieval jousting shit, right? Like, yeah, you just like, like pea brains, everything's a weapon. Okay? The smaller your brain is, the less smart you are, the more things look like weapons to you. Okay? And the FBI loves them some pea brains. Okay? So now I recorded this video here. I'm going to tell this story for the first time here. I had this big shoot, right? It was I rented a cargo van or a people hauling van, right? To have like 12, I think. I had 12 between actors, actresses, and crew. I think I had about 12 people. Okay. I'm heading out to some property in Banks, Oregon that I had rented on a number of occasions, okay? So now I'm driving, I'm going out there, right? And I'm on this dirt road and I get a premonition, like literally like tell everyone to put on their seatbelts. Like that. It was so freaking weird. So I'm just like, I'm looking, do people have their seatbelts on? No, And I slow down. I'm probably going about 35, 40, and I slow down to like 25 or 20, right? And I'm coming in through this turn, and right then, at that moment, a blue Subaru, little zippy Subaru, kind of race car looking style Subaru, comes right for us, doing crazy speed on a freaking gravel road, okay? And I was slowed down, so when I veered, it wasn't a huge deal. I hit a trash can, which also was very weird because there was a trash can in the road, but that was the only trash can in the road. It was like it was intentionally put there. And if I had been speeding, or at least going where I was going before, the likelihood of me hitting this embankment, right? So the corner was like this guy came in like this, I veered, there was this embankment that would have people could have died, okay? Now, I will never forget the look on the guy's face that was driving, or what he looked like, okay? And he looked like a cop, and he looked like he was concentrating. And the road had grooves in it, like it had been run past over and over again, high speed, like somebody was practicing that corner over and over and over again, okay? All right, so now it's taken me years to figure out, like, the whole situation, okay? And a bunch of clarity came with this Kathy Griffith video.
What appears to be a bloody mask of President Trump's face.
I certainly learned that your life can change overnight. So what happened was, I took the infamous photo with the Trump mask and ketchup on it with a photographer named Tyler Shields. And I was in the middle of a 50-city tour, and I was 25 cities in, and the photo went live on TMZ, and I think the title was something like, Kathy Griffin joins ISIS and severs Donald Trump's head. So the theaters where I was about to play started getting cancellation calls. And, I don't blame the theater owners, because if you're used to having, Mamma Mia or Stomp, you're not used to getting a call saying, if that bitch from ISIS shows up, I'm going to shoot her in the on the stage, which was the most common call. And when the shows were canceled, I thought, okay, I can weather this. I was kind of hunkered down in my house for a couple of months because the death threats were so intense. And I was investigated by 2 federal agencies, the Secret Service and the U.S. Attorney's Office. They were considering charging me with conspiracy to assassinate the President of the United States, which holds a lifetime sentence. So I thought, okay, I'm up against a layered campaign, and I'm just me. And I want to be clear, everyone turned on me left, right, and center. Well, I'm just going to say a smear campaign. I was put on the no-fly list. My life has been sort of changed irrevocably because of the way the right wing and, frankly, the president himself blew it up.
I'm moving to, I've been doing this whole video production thing for like over 9 years, kind of burned out on it for a lot of different reasons, okay? So, and I've always wanted a farm. I've literally been dreaming about having a farm, a permaculture farm, since I saw this freaking show I used to watch on the weekends. Like it was Saturday or Sunday mornings. It was like a Oregon Public Broadcasting show. and it was talking about, and I didn't catch the start, so I never knew the name, right? And it was permaculture, but it was like, the show was like, yeah, this Japanese guy came up with this whole different way of farming where you just put like this plant next to this plant and this plant next to this plant. And I was just like mind blown. I was like, man, I want to do that. That is just so cool. At the time, my living room had like 40 or something tropical plants, and would fit like a rain cloud in there kind of when the temperatures and stuff. It was wild. It was super, the air was amazing. It was awesome. But anyway, so I was like, really want to do that for all the way from like the mid 90s, right? And so I'm like, I just sold my house that I made money on. And I don't know how much, I honestly don't know how much money I made versus how much money I basically just had compiled into the house and then just got it back, right? But anyway, I ended up with a chunk of money. Okay. So I bought property in Central Oregon, and I was like, I'm just going to leave these 4 employees with the easiest directions ever, and they just have to do this, okay? And it was like, they'll just keep the company just kind of skating along. I'll live on these little other revenue sources, and I'll start a farm, and it will be freaking awesome. Okay, well, little did I know is that these fascist gangs and the cops and the FBI all are working to try to kill me, okay? And so I'm not in Prineville, but not even 2 weeks, when I'm at the lumberyard, and this lumberyard employee that I thought was an employee because he was dressed like the employees comes up to me and goes, "So what you doing out here?" I says, "I'm out here to green the desert. I'm going to start a permaculture farm. And I'm out here to green the desert, right?" And his response was, "Oh, they're going to want to kill you." And it's like, I'm going to remember your face. Okay. And then he shows up to my place about 3 years later. Okay. This time he's wearing a sheriff's uniform, okay? Now about 2 years before he shows up, my place is burned down in a very suspicious fire. Link in the description, okay? So now I'm seeing this guy, okay? I had seen this other guy, went out to a strip club, right? And this guy sits down next to me, and he starts just saying the freaking craziest shit. Just like, I'm looking at this guy, and what he's saying and what he looks like just don't match up, right? The vibe he gives off, right? But I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I fucking know this guy. Like, I've seen this guy before, right? So, and it takes me a few days to fucking remember where the hell I'd seen him. Okay, so now I'm like, holy cow, that was this guy that was super creepy at this party that I was invited to. So now we have to kind of go back in time, right? And it's like, I used to be big into the nightclub. I remodeled a bunch of nightclubs, and I used to be a stage manager for a weekly production, and I was a bartender, and I was doing all this stuff in the bar scene, right? But then I got this whole video production thing that was way better, and I could do as much work as I wanted to do, right? And I just had partied so much in my life and been in bars so much in my life, it was like, okay, I can either keep wasting my freaking life hanging out in all these bars, or I can go do that and just work endlessly and develop myself a nice little, nest egg by just working endlessly, which is what I did for like 9 years, right? And I actually haven't stopped much. It's just been not as much. I mean, it was crazy, 16-hour days, 12-hour days all the time, right? Which I had done even crazier hours working for Frank, the owner of like Dante's and all this stuff. I worked like 3 different times over 24 hours to get his bars open up before the grand opening or a remodel, whatever, like 3 separate times worked over 24 hours, right? So now that guy becomes critical to this story because at the time when I was working for him and he was paying me like $15 an hour. That was it, okay? And I was working overtime like crazy because he just wanted everything done now. Just get it done, just get it done. Because it was like remodeling bars like in the middle of the night and taking old just dumpy bars and turn them into really nice places. And he was killing it. He flipped the one Tiger bar I did with this other guy and just killed it on that. And so he was just paying me $15 an hour, right? And so on 3 separate occasions, I was working over 24 hours for $15 an hour. So this was kind of coming to a head. I'm like, you need to freaking pay me overtime, right? And he was thinking that the tools that I was buying with my own money, he thought he was paying for those tools. Well, see, we had this whole receipt system where I'd go to Home Depot and I'd buy everything. Yeah, so I was making $15 an hour and out of my own pocket paying for all the materials for the jobs at Home Depot. And I'd come do all the work, right? And I'd give the receipt to his manager and his manager would give me my money back. None of those receipts have any receipts for tools except for one that I explicitly made a deal with him because I was remodeling some really old lamps and I had to buy a tool to do it, and it was a restoration job that was worth so much more money than $15 an hour. I made him buy me a tool, a Dremel tool, so I could do the job. That's the only tool he bought me, and that was for that job. Every other tool I bought was, but he even implied like I should give him all those tools when I wasn't working for him because he thought he paid for them. So anyway, no, he didn't pay for shit. Not one of my tools did he pay for. I think I inadvertently ended up with a couple extension cords when the whole thing was said and done. But other than that, so now we kind of have beef, right? I was working for him and he wasn't really paying me shit. And then that whole biker thing had gone down. And that whole biker thing, like basically he threw me under the bus on that whole deal. Like he told me that I needed to stop talking about it when there was like bikers having old meetings outside at his bar where other gangs were coming in, and I mean, it was nuts. It was nuts. It had nothing to do with me. And he's telling me that I need to stop talking about it when I'm the one that they're all fucking talking about. You know what I'm saying? It was just, So anyway, now I'm at this party. I haven't been out doing anything. I just happened to go to this other strip club that Frank didn't own, where a burlesque dancer that I had worked with when I was a stage manager, her name is Amanda. She's a snake dancer and silks and burlesque dancer. Okay, and possibly a stripper as well. Well, she invites me to a party at her house. Okay, a house party, sure. And it was a pajama party. Oh, I didn't have pajamas. I grabbed some out of the prop room, and I look like a hobo. Got trash drunk, had a great time. Well, at that party was that freaking guy that was sitting now right here next to me saying all this crazy shit. Okay? An FBI agent. Okay? Now I know all this because at one point when I started really, really figuring this all out, right, and I made a video called Documenting 15 Years of Police Harassment, and they deleted it, and that whole entire battle, and that video's back up, link in the description, the whole playlist, Documenting 15 Years of Police Harassment. So at that point, I really started going, holy cow, and looking back and thinking like, oh yeah, this and this and this. And it's like, one day I went for a bike ride, but it was hot as shit. I was gonna go swimming as well. And I was almost to where I was gonna go swimming, and like a whole gang of douchebag frat boy looking guys, right? Which they're FBI agents. That's the look of an FBI, is a douchebag frat boy. That's what they look like. And the female version of a douchebag frat boy, okay? I can pick them out. They all look the same. I mean, they are so cookie cutter that you can pick them out. I can pick them out. So I'm like, now I got like a whole gang of them. And I realized that they had the FBI building like right there. So I've seen like groups of them, okay? And it's like, oh, that guy driving that Subaru, he looked just like those people, okay? The douchebag in the apartment and sitting here looked just like those people, frat boy douchebags, okay? So it all started coming together. They were hacked into my computer. They were like, basically that was when the real craziness started, right? So when I busted them, hacked into my computer, I went into town and into a bar, food truck thing, to have a couple ciders and started just telling people, right? Oh, then all of a sudden frat boy douchebags, right? And they're, oh yeah, I'm a fireman and all this shit. Like, they're coming up to me, trying to get me to talk to them instead of just everybody else. Being like, listen to this horse shit these fascists are doing, right? And, it took it took years to kind of, what the is even going on? And this whole Kathy Griffith video is the one that really kind of, oh, that's what. So when you extrapolate what that means is it's like they've been just planning this whole fascist coup for a long time. And anybody that has any problem with that and is vocal about it, and they can, like this whole like if they can, give them any excuse and they can just do whatever. Under Trump, they tried to kill me twice. Then under Biden, they just spent enormous amount of resources to just harass me incessantly, to block business deals, to harass anybody, like the poor guy at the motorcycle shop. I take my motorcycle in to have him worked on it, and he was super cool, and we chat and all this shit. Oh, they hate that. So then they didn't have a direct line to that guy themselves, but they had somebody. So they got that somebody and they sent him and they freaked that old dude out, right? I tried to sell my business to a friend, right? She's all super cool. The next time I talk to her, she's all freaked out. So literally they're on my phone listening to everything they say. The phone's on. Like wherever it was just on for years, listening to every single thing I said, right? So they're gonna try to convince people that I'm some fucking criminal when they have been up in my shit for fucking almost 20 fucking years, even longer than that, because I was in prison for 7 years, okay? But you don't have shit on me, right? You just have, man, he keeps making it and we're trying to destroy him, right? That's their whole thing, right? It's like, how dare you freaking call the emperor traitor? I mean, that's where we're at. That's where it's been. This is all years ago. This is why I'm in Mexico, right? Because these people are literally nuts. They are and fascist to the core, okay? I mean, and here's where it is once I realized that the iPhone is what they were, and look, iPhone on airplane mode, cops still everywhere I go in Bend, Oregon. I made a video. Link in the description. There's a lot of videos surrounding this subject, okay? Well, if I would go someplace, right? And they would somehow, like for an example, this sushi restaurant, right? Run by Chinese people, okay? And now I've eaten sushi for over 30 years, right? I mean, I have a whole like relationship, like not friendship or relationship that's not like just a like type thing with the sushi places that I go over the years. Like the very first place I ever went, Obi Sushi. Like that guy used to just hook me up with this stuff that wasn't even on the menu. It was awesome. When I got out of prison, it was closed. It was sad. So I went to this other place. Those people were Cambodian people. And one of the people that worked there was Japanese. Obi was Japanese. So now I'm going to this sushi restaurant here. I ask them, oh, what do you guys? They're Chinese. Okay, Chinese. Okay. So now the FBI is in there one time I go in there. And douchebag frat boy sitting right there, just staring at a menu. Oh yeah, bro. You're super freaking, you're like 007, aren't ya? I mean, these people, they can't score too high on the IQ, right? And they think they're brilliant because they get to use the tools that there's like this small group of FBI, CIA, NSA Nazis that are really talented at like code writing. So they develop tools that any moron can use. And so all these moron douchebag frat boys have all these advanced tools to fuck with people and to spy on people and to dig into, I mean, they have no limits. They have no oversight. They have nothing. They can do whatever they want, right? Like your electronic devices are not safe because some smart-ish people that know how to code wrote tools that morons can abuse. And that's the reality. And the worst one is the iPhone, by a mile, okay? So until I stopped carrying the iPhone completely, turning it off doesn't work, airplane mode doesn't work, you just can't have an iPhone or an Android that's on, okay? So they were literally following me around. And anytime, like these poor people at the secondhand place, I go to take a bunch of stuff I want to sell, they swoop in there, they tell them just a bunch of crazy lies, if you pay them for that stuff, you're supporting a terrorist and we're going to take your kids from you. I mean, I wouldn't even fucking surprise, right? So, and they can just throw around any words, but I literally have a whole playlist that solves every freaking problem on earth without killing people. Like that's like killing people is like, okay, how do you do anything and not kill people? Like that's like the goal of the theories that I concern myself with. Because any moron can just kill somebody and presumably be getting their, there's very, if somebody killed Putin, would it change I guess it would depend on who killed him. Like if a Ukrainian undercover strike took him out, that might change the tide of the war. But this generally killing anybody or anything to get to the goal is low IQ, is fascist, right? And so I reject these notions of killing people to get where you want to go. So this notion like I'm some kind of a terrorist or something like that, or Kathy Griffin's a terrorist, is just Nazis' projection. Their projection. They are the terrorists. The FBI is the terrorist. If you want your democracy back, you got to go through the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, some shit we don't even know about, ICE, some more shit we don't know about, okay? Those are all, DEA, those are all fascist organizations that don't really care about anything other than doing fascism, okay? And this is the reality. I mean, they're tapped into everything. That's why if you're in the United States and you're like, we're gonna fix this, you're screwed. You are screwed. It's like what's coming in the very short future is, just look at what happened in Germany in the 1930s and the 40s. That's all you have to do to really comprehend what's coming down the pipe for the United States. And because the United States is such an integral part of like the whole world, yeah, it's nothing pretty. So you need to watch the videos in the description and be safe. Peace.
Thank you for watching my video, me. Thank you for